Hello, everyone. I'm Joe, aka Eldridge Homer,
I like the sound of that.
And I am Bill, aka Lost Star Wars.
The Force is strong in this one.
and we are the Trade Federation, the only podcast dedicated to Topps Star Wars card trader on iOS and now Android, actually. And we wanted to start this first episode out as a little intro to the app and give you guys a feeling about what the game is and what you should expect getting into it. So, Bill, why don't you tell us a little bit about what it is and how it works?
So this takes the experience of collecting cards and puts it into the digital application. And to me, this is sort of a recreation of like, you know, collecting Magic the Gathering. I've been a Magic the Gathering fan for my entire life. You know, it doesn't have the game side of it, but it's got that collecting side of it. So, you know, you create an account, you log in, and you're given a certain amount of credits when you start. I think it was 25,000 credits, which is the same as what you get sort of on a daily basis. As an allowance to spend on packs. And you open packs just like you would any other card collecting thing. And there's various rarities and different sets and themes and things like that. And you want to try to build up your sets. And the senators, they're called through Topps, they set up awards for collecting, for putting together different sets, and those awards are divvied out at, you know, scheduled times. What else do you have to add to that kind of basic introduction?
Well, I remember the first couple days, I think for the first 3 days, you get a free pack each day that has, I think it usually has the legends in it, or maybe you just get those as you buy your packs. I forget. Those are like your first little inserts or whatever to kind of get you excited for the game, I think. But there's one thing I wanted to mention, is that you seem sort of hesitant to just call it a game. And I don't know if I consider it a game necessarily either. What are your actual feelings on that?
I mean, people are making it a game. In fact, we can talk later about some of the different gamey kinds of things that are going on that some of the people in the community have started up, which are a lot of fun. But I mean, you know, technically it's not really a game. It's a market, you know, it's a place where you sort of acquire things. It's a trade market. I mean, it's not really a game. There's no like winning, I guess, unless you consider winning to be collecting more cards or something like that. It kind of feels like a game, you know, like it's got in-app purchases available, and awards, so sort of like achievements and things like that. But technically, it's not really a game.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with that. It's just for the collecting fanatic sort of person that I think is in most of us.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and I collect action figures and stuff too, and posters and all sorts of things. So it's just right up my alley in terms of like the kinds of things that, you know, get me going.
Yeah, I think it's nice in that it sort of feeds my collection habit without me having to put any money in if I don't choose to, and it doesn't take up any space in my house, so my wife isn't trying to throw it out all the time.
Yeah, I've kind of gone digital with some other things too. The space thing is huge. I did that with comics. Once they started the new Marvel Star Wars comics and sort of started saying that everything new is canon, I decided, okay, I'm not going to buy the books. I want to read them now, but I don't want each separate issue piling up in my house. So I just decided to go with the Comixology app. I think we're kind of entering an age where a digital collection is more than just a bunch of JPEGs, as some people might suggest.
That's probably one thing that'll be a stumbling block for a lot of people when they're getting into the app, is especially the first few days, you kind of get the feeling like, I'm just paying fake money for fake pictures I could look up on the internet or something. But there's something about it. In particular, maybe we should go into inserts a little bit. The idea of inserts are these cards that come out at specified times, where you only have a limited window to pick up cards that are a limited printing, and that's basically where a lot of your trade power comes from.
Yeah, I think you explained it pretty well, inserts. The limited number ranges. So I think what's really cool about the way they're doing the inserts is there's something for everyone. There's something for sort of like the diehard people who are, trading really hard and building up collections and even spending money and trying to get the super, super rare things. But then there's also inserts that pretty much everyone can get, or sort of mid-range ones as well.
Yeah, for sure. It seems like the Galactic Moments are one that everybody is supposed to be able to get, although it seems to be harder and harder to get the one, the Ralph McQuarrie one from the first week. They slowly have been kind of increasing the counts on those, but people are going pretty hard for the Ralph at this point.
Yeah, they are, and that speaks to sort of a trend that, all of the firsts in these sets that are sort of coming out week by week are becoming super rare. Or they're not rarer. I mean, there's a select number out there, and maybe they're perceived to be a little bit rarer because people assume that a lot of folks, tried it for a week and then were like, "What's the point?" and then deleted the app, and they think that there's all these idle cards out there that are just not in circulation. Yeah, it's kind of interesting to see where value is and how things sort of appreciate.
So here's a question for you. Do you feel like new people who are just getting into it, this is a little bit of maybe a strategy thing, when they're just starting out, presumably they're not going to want to just jump in and start spending money right away until they get a feel for, the app and whether they're going to stick around and whether they like it or not?
Yeah.
Do you think it's helpful for them to sort of pick one set and just stick with that set of inserts, or do you like to just use all your credits every day and maybe do some Tapjoy stuff and just go for everything and try to swap around for what you like? Or what's your strategy for a new person? What would you recommend?
So if I were starting out right now, I would not try to get too many of the things that started week one. I would maybe try to find one set. There's, like you said, the Galactic Moments or the bounties. While the first cards are kind of hard to get, they're nowhere near as hard to get as some of the other ones, like the vintages or the wide visions. So yeah, I mean, I think realistically you could maybe get into one set if you're just starting out. And I think the best strategy if you're just starting out is to build up your trade value and not worry too much about like completing sets, unless it's like a new set that's just started and you can get into from the ground up. I would say sort of just try to build up the number of inserts you have and the number of duplicate inserts you have. And those are, highly sought after cards, and you can trade them. And ultimately you can say, all right, now I think I have enough where I can go for this set.
Right. I think it's important to point out to people, you mentioned this a little bit, but the idea of collecting a set is that they run for a certain amount of time. It depends on the set. It'll be a certain number of cards, and if you have all of the cards by a certain date, then you get an award, typically an actual award in the app that'll come with a credit bonus, and then often a special card or two that you only get for having all those at that specific time. So like a lot of the inserts you're going to want to go for as a new person, I think, are the various marathon inserts. Is there one every day of the week, or is it not? I think it's not quite to that point yet.
They're the marathons, so the 30-week marathons where you these and all of the marathons started around the first week of the app, and I think there's just one day where there's no marathon card that comes out. I think that's Wednesday. What do we have? We have Vintage on Thursday, Connections Friday, Wide Vision Saturday, Topps Choice Sunday, which was never announced as a marathon set until about a week ago, and people got all up in arms about it.
That was a little frustrating at the time, but we've lived through it.
Yeah, because a lot of people traded those earlier cards away, thinking, "Oh, there's no award." And then Monday is Bounty. No, I'm sorry. Monday is Galactic Moments, and Tuesday is Bounty. And those are the 6 marathon sets that if you collect the first 10 within the first 10 weeks, you get an award. And then if you collect the next 10, same thing. and then the next 10, same thing. And in addition, if you have all 30 at the end, there's a bigger reward, I guess. And I think all of those awards involve a card, and that's really what people want. Like, the credit awards are usually not that impressive, but the award cards are usually really cool.
Yeah, I've been a big fan of trying to hunt down those award cards. There's been some sets where I had no intention of even trying to get them, and then in acquiring them through trades, it just bites me. Suddenly, I have to try and collect the last 2 of the set. And that, the trading, in my opinion, is where a lot of the fun in the game comes from. Like, opening the packs is cool, the excitement of you crack a pack and maybe it's got the card you're looking for. But then to get on the feed, which, I'm not going to lie, it can be pretty frustrating dealing with some people on there. But that's what we're trying to help, I think. With the podcast, hopefully we can get people to a place where they're starting to understand a little more about, like, treat your fellow traders with respect and don't go crazy with greed. But
I think that's also speaks to the sort of the cycle of when you start the app and sort of grow with it and learn it, you kind of go through the phase of oh wow, the fan feed is really fun, there's a bunch of people trading, and then you start to realize, oh, there's people trying to take advantage of you, and you get frustrated, and you threaten to quit, and then you say, oh well, there's some really cool people on here, like I met Joe, and I met a bunch of other people, especially on the Reddit, the subreddit, which is Star Wars Trader. And sort of you go through that cycle and you learn to thicken up your skin a little bit and, not take the crazy trade seriously, just sort of decline and move on. And also to try to engage. I always try to engage with, in the comments with the traders just to try to see if I can make any connections and, turn people onto the Reddit and just kind of build the community a little bit.
That's one thing I would recommend to new people, and something people might not realize right away, is when you make a trade with somebody, on the trade screen, there's a little speech bubble in, like, the top right corner, I believe it is, of that trade, where you can actually send messages to the person you're trying to trade with. And to me, I feel like that's really important, especially if you feel like you're taking a long shot or you don't know what you're doing. It seems really humanizing to me when someone just says, like, I don't know if this is worth anything. I don't know if these cards I'm asking for are worth anything to you. I'm just taking a shot in the dark or whatever, rather than just a blind trade request and they want 6 of my things for 1 of theirs that isn't worth anything. If you can start a dialogue, I feel like it's a little easier to be like, get something explained to you or explain something to somebody rather than just like seeming like you're a guy who's asking the world with nothing in return.
Yeah, and everybody values things. We were mentioning this earlier. Like, everybody values things differently. And what might seem to you as something crazy and ridiculous is perfectly reasonable to someone else. So trying to kind of get a gauge as to, how they value things and what they're after and what their strategy is can help a lot in figuring out if you're going to be able to trade with that person. Some people are just not tradable. You just can't trade with them or negotiate or anything. But, for the most part, if you can get in that little comment area and talk to them. I've actually met a lot of really nice people making trades and, kind of connected back and forth with them on Twitter or on the Reddit.
Yeah, for sure. I would say, too, to the people who are listening who might be more experienced, there's a real knee-jerk reaction you get when you've been around for a while and somebody offers you something that seems like a ridiculous trade, where they want 4 vintages for their Galactic Moments or whatever, something crazy. And I think it gets a hold of you for a second, where you just want to get in that comments and say, oh, what are you? Are you stupid? Don't you know what these are worth? It's important, I think, that you fight the urge, because you can't assume that everybody, in my case, I can't assume that people are checking the subreddit and on this game 18 hours a day like I am. They might really have no idea what's going on, or maybe they just think you don't value something in the way they do. So let's just try to treat each other with respect in the fan feed. This is probably going to fall on deaf ears, but I have to try and say my piece.
Yeah, and you never know when the person on the other end is a little kid or whatever. I mean, I don't know if there's an age a minimum age or something like that for actually using the app, but I always kind of think to myself, all right, so this might be a little kid and might not have really the best perception of the values.
Yeah, that's for sure. I just think I wouldn't talk to anybody like like they were stupid in real life if they were trying to trade me some physical cards. So I think if you treat them more like their physical cards, and for a lot of people, as we were saying earlier, some people might think it's weird that it's just a digital thing and there's no physical component, and that might be kind of hard to spend real money on. I actually haven't spent any physical dollars on it yet, but the urge has been there.
Yeah, I haven't spent. I've spent $1 once, because if you spend money in the cantina where you buy packs, you unlock certain more prestigious packs that have gold cards that you can't get in the free packs, or they're not free packs, but in the regular packs. So I tried that once, and it just didn't seem reasonable to me to pursue sort of doing that, like $1 a day or something, to try to unlock those packs, because they were like 20,000 credits, which is a lot. And then let's see, I did like one Tapjoy thing where I spent, it was to spend $1 at Pete's Coffee, and I never got my credits, and it was a lot. It was supposed to be a lot of credits, and I never got them, so that kind of turned me off from really trying any of the more detailed, labor-intensive Tapjoy offers. I just kind of get like 1,000 here, a couple hundred there, and that's that, and just rely on the daily credits. So when those daily credits run out, I mean, who knows what's going to sort of happen in terms of my strategy.
Yeah, they've talked a few times about reducing the amount of daily credits, and I don't know how to feel about it. I hope they don't, because I don't know what they could reduce it to that would keep it sustainable as a free-to-play thing. I love this game as a free-to-play thing, and actually, as I say, there are times where if I had the money to spend on it, I probably would have. But if I have to pay in order to play, then it might frustrate me to the point where I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So, is there anything else we need to talk about as far as intro to the game before we wrap up for this week?
The one thing I would say, and the one thing that I always say when I'm making trades with new traders and trying to help people figure the game out, is I always direct them, and we mentioned it already before, but I always direct them to the subreddit. I mean, that was such a huge help to me, because they have some great mods who've put together guides and sort of trading threads, and I actually helped to edit the insert release schedule. So there's there's loads of information. I don't think anywhere else really exists with that much information. So I think that's the best place to start for anyone that's beginning.
That's a good point. That actually it's one of my favorite subs. It's a great place. Reddit, I feel like, can be a pretty fractious place, and the fan feed can sometimes be frustrating. But I have had nothing but pleasant experiences with the people on the sub. You can tell everybody there is pretty enthusiastic about the app, and they're just there to help. It's really good.
Yeah.
So I think that is it for this week. For next episode, we're going to be talking a little bit about some of the sets that we're collecting right now, and talking about some of your sweet trading strategies that always get you the great stuff for seemingly nothing, is how I've described it to other people.
Alrighty.
All right. Well, thanks for joining me this week.
Thank you.
All right. I'll see you next one. Everybody, take it easy and get trading.